Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, our India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Indian government asked states to stay alert to handle any situation after Operation Sindoor. Mock drills test emergency preparedness even as Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire across the line of control. Government calls an all-party meet to brief leaders on Operation Sindoor. Opposition parties hail India's strike on terror camps in Pakistan and Pak-occupied J&K. Uncertainty prevails as Putin's order of 3-day ceasefire enters force. Kiev has dismissed it as theatrics and asked for 30-day truce. Tension escalates between the two Korean peninsula nations after South Korea announces the firing of unidentified ballistic missile off its east coast by North Korea. And US Fed holds rates steady despite Trump's pressure, flags rising inflation and job market risk. Stocks rise in choppy trade. The government has asked states across India to stay alert to handle any situation after Operation Sindoor. Prime Minister Narendra Modi convened a high-level meeting with the Union Cabinet. Political leaders across party lines lauded Indian Army. Defence Minister said that India exercised its right to respond. Nation celebrated justice done by armed forces under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Once again, India was compelled to exercise its rights to pound rogue terror outfits operating from across the borders, disturbing peace and prosperity time and again. In a powerful message to those who threaten peace, the Indian Armed Forces launched precision strikes at 9 locations, targeting terror infrastructure across the border. This comes in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam terror attack where 25 Indians and 1 Nepali citizen were martyred. Just hours after Operation Sindoor was initiated, Prime Minister Narendra Modi convened a high-level meeting with the Union Cabinet. The entire cabinet stood united in support of the armed forces and hailed the strike. Prime Minister Modi also briefed President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan on the overnight developments. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh called the operation a demonstration of India's sovereign right and praised the armed forces for their precision, alertness and sensitivity.
भारत की सेना ने सटीकता, सतर्कता और संवेदनशीलता के साथ कार्रवाई की है। हमने जो लक्ष्य तय किए थे, उन्हें ठीक समय तय योजना के अनुसार सटीकता से उन्होंने ध्वस्त किया है और किसी भी नागरिक ठिकाने, सिविलियन पॉपुलेशन को जरा भी प्रभावित न होने देने की संवेदनशीलता भी हमारी सेना ने दिखाई है।
As the operation unfolded, Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired a crucial meeting with Chief Ministers, DGPs and Chief Secretaries of border states. Leaders across the political spectrum voiced strong support. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar urged the global community to adopt zero tolerance for terrorism.
हमारे दुश्मन देशों को संदेश ले लेना चाहिए कि हम लोगों को उनके चप्पे-चप्पे की खबर है, एक-एक ठिकाने की खबर है और आगे ऐसे और एक्शन लेना होगा तो हम लोग उतनी ही मजबूती से।
The opposition also put politics aside. The Congress party and its leader Rahul Gandhi extended full support to the government and armed forces. MP Asauddin Owaisi also welcomed the decisive action under Operation Sindoor. From grief to justice, families of the Pahalgam victims expressed relief and pride after the strikes. Many call the operation absolutely necessary to deliver a strong message against terrorism.
बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ, उनसे बहुत थैंक यू कहती हूँ कि उन्होंने मेरे पति की मौत का बदला लिया है। जिस तरीके से हमारे पूरे परिवार को उन पे विश्वास था, उन्होंने उसी तरीके से जवाब देके हमारे विश्वास को कायम रखा है।
मोदी साहब ने बदला लिया है। सेना के जवानों को यही मैसेज देना चाहती हूँ कि आगे बढ़ते रहो।
Across cities, towns and villages, citizens stood united. From Delhi to Dibrugarh, slogans of Bharat Mata Ki Jai and Vande Mataram echoed through the streets. India saluted its brave soldiers and celebrated their firm stand against terror.
पहलगाम का जो बदला लिया है इसके लिए मैं बहुत ही धन्यवाद करता हूं प्रधानमंत्री का।
अभी तो कुछ भी नहीं जवाब दिया, हम तो चाहते हैं कि इतना मुंह तोड़ जवाब देना चाहिए कि दुश्मन हमेशा के लिए याद रखे।
15 दिन के अंदर अंदर पाकिस्तान को मुंह तोड़ का जवाब दिया गया है भारतीय सेना ने, और पाकिस्तान को अभी अकल आनी चाहिए।
But even as the dust settled, Pakistan resorted to provocation, violating the ceasefire with artillery fire in Jammu and Kashmir's Dinmer Gully. The Indian Army responded with equal resolve, underscoring that every threat will be met with strength. Operation Sindoor is not just a military operation, it's a message that India will not stay silent in the face of terror. A message of unity, resilience and unwavering resolve. Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
And as part of a nationwide civil defence drill, the Amritsar District Administration resumed blackout measures to ensure public safety and preparedness on Wednesday. Amritsar's District Public Relations Officer asked civilians to take utmost caution. The blackout in Amritsar was part of a nationwide civil defence drill ordered by the Ministry of Home Affairs to check emergency preparedness in case of future threats. The exercise involved scheduled blackouts at key locations across the country. In the national capital, Delhi, Rashtrapati Bhavan and Vijay Chowk also went dark for the drill. Raj Bhavan in Patna participated too. And cities such as Bama, Gwalior, Surat, Shimla and Patna participated by switching off lights at key buildings and public spaces. Earlier in the day, civil defence drills were conducted in several states including Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh and Bihar. These drills were meant to assess how local authorities and citizens respond to emergencies. All right, we'll go across to DD India's Akshay Dongre. He joins me live from New Delhi. Akshay, India carried out Operation Sindoor yesterday, and we have been talking about the measured and non-escalatory strikes. Tell us about the latest developments that have unfolded.
Well, Abhishek, ever since the Indian Armed Forces executed Operation Sindoor to punish the terror outfits and the terror infrastructure that is operating from Pakistan against India, since yesterday night, we have seen continuous shelling, continuous artillery fire as well as small arms fire being carried out by the Pakistani Rangers as well as the Pakistani Army, not only at the LOC, that is the line of control, but also at the international border, which means that every border of Pakistan, the eastern border that borders with India, is seeing some kind of provocative action by the Pakistani forces. In fact, resulting in killing of 15 civilians as well as 43 injuries. Now, these are serious injuries we are talking about, and not only targeting of military targets also, Abhishek, but also the Pakistani armed forces are deliberately trying to attack the civilians who are living in this area. Also, especially when we talk about the state of Jammu and Kashmir, the Pakistani forces are trying to target the religious places as well. In fact, yesterday a Gurdwara was targeted in which many people got injured, and while the Indian Army is resorting to retaliatory as well as proportionate action against the Pakistani forces, Pakistan seems absolutely rattled by what has happened and how the Indian forces not only carried out attacks at the terror outfit, but it also entered in Pakistani airspace and to a degree of about 100 kilometers to attack Bahawalpur and returned safely as well. So that is a slap in the face for not only the Pakistani armed forces but also the tall claims that Pakistani forces have been making regarding the Chinese Chinese equipment and weaponry that they have deployed alongside the borders with India. So clearly escalation escalation is being seen at the borders. However, it remains to be seen that what Pakistan plans to do next. And while the Indian forces are prepared, certainly looking at the history of Pakistan, some nefarious design or agenda is absolutely brewing, for which the Indian armed forces are totally prepared.
Also, Akshay, nationwide mock drills were conducted yesterday. How is the civil defense preparedness taking shape in the context of mock drills and blackouts we witnessed last evening?
Well, Abhishek, it's a challenge as far as mock drills are concerned, and while they were executed, we have to understand that the last time mock drills were conducted at this scale were in 1970s, in fact, early 1970s. So it's been about 55 years that the country has seen this scale of preparedness when it comes to mock drills, finding bomb shelter, finding underground places. The country has totally changed in 55 years, and it's an entire generation that has not seen a full-scale war with any country. So clearly people will have to come in shape, people will have to take all of this seriously. So the onus now rests with people as far as the mock drills are concerned. But what we have seen yesterday is a sort of compliance throughout the country whenever these drills were conducted, whenever the sirens were blaring. We saw blackouts in several areas, not only areas that are bordering with Pakistan, but in across the country. People, students, shopkeepers, people who are going to business, offices, they all observed measures to ensure their safety and safety of their colleagues as well as other people around them. So clearly this was required. In fact, these kind of mock drills also experts are suggesting should be part of school curriculums as well, so that people are aware of these kind of situations. At least they are literate to understand what a siren means what, and this is all for the safety of the people. So that is going well, and it's likely to continue for the next months, and in fact be coordinated as part of school curriculums and other day-to-day activities of people.
Absolutely, preparing citizens for any eventuality. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your input, Akshay. And the government has also called an all-party meeting to brief all political parties on Operation Sindoor in Parliament on Thursday. The all-party meet of the government comes a day after the Indian Armed Forces carried out targeted strikes at terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The meeting will be convened to brief the leaders about the strikes that were carried out in the early hours of Wednesday. The coordinated strikes were in response to the April 22nd terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, when a group of terrorists gunned down 26 civilians, including one Nepali citizen. All right, DD India's Dibyendu Mondal has more information on this. He is joining us live from New Delhi. Dibyendu, all-party meeting has been scheduled at 11 a.m. Today. All political parties will be briefed on Operation Sindoor in Parliament today.
Abhishek, the all-party meeting has been called by the government to brief all the opposition parties in Parliament about the Operation Sindoor and how it was executed, and also what the government, what the current situation is at the bordering districts and the bordering areas, and also about the preparedness of the government in case of an eventuality or an hostile attack by Pakistan. So therefore, we did conduct mock drills yesterday as well. So all informations in a democratic setup, it is necessary for the government to give all necessary information to all the political parties that are represented in the parliament, and therefore the government has called the representatives of all the political parties that are present in Parliament for an all-party meeting this morning. It is expected that the all-party meeting could begin at around 11 a.m. And also, we saw that, Abhishek, that all the political parties have stood by the government in terms of its action or the Operation Sindoor, and how the government has been dealing with giving a befitting reply to Pakistan post the 22nd April horrific attack by the terrorists on civilian tourists in Pahalgam. So therefore, we have seen how the Congress party have also come out in support. We saw Rahul Gandhi, who is the leader of opposition in Parliament, as well as Mallikarjun Kharge, who is the Congress president, coming out in support of the government and saying that the Congress party stands united, stands with the government in this matter, and therefore in fact both Rahul Gandhi as well as Mallikarjun Kharge have hailed the armed forces for their support, for their Operation Sindoor and for their bravery. So therefore, we are expecting to see that a united force and united political parties standing together by the side of the country at a time like this, when we are facing a hostile nation like Pakistan, a rogue terror state like Pakistan. And we are also expected to see that, not just Congress, Abhishek, even the Trinamool Congress, even the Shiv Sena, the other allies of the BJP have all come out unequivocally supporting the government, supporting the operations that the government have been carrying out in terms of giving a befitting reply to Pakistan. Therefore, even today, it is expected that all the opposition parties and the allies of the NDA will stand united together to show support to the armed forces and to all the operations that the government have been carrying out, and if at all needed, the further operations that will be carried out by the government in the near future.
Devendu, yes, of course, every detail cannot be shared in such meetings, but broadly, the diplomatic and security strategy likely to be discussed. But Shubhendu, also security in the national capital, has it been intensified? Additional police personnel and paramilitary forces deployed at key locations?
Well, of course, that's right. Security have been heightened. Security forces have been increased in vital installations and locations across the national capital. We have seen the number of police presence, the barricading, the checking of vehicles that underwent yesterday, as well as it is expected that even today, the security around all the important installations, the important, we have the parliament, we also have the secretariat, the ministries of the different secretariat of the different union ministries that are all are present in Delhi. We have the North Block, the South Block, the Prime Minister's office, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, metro stations, railway stations, airports. Each and all of these important installations, security have been increased. Security measures have been heightened by the Delhi police, by the CRPF, and also by the CISF that protect all these important installations. So therefore, there is an heightened security measures that have been put in place. And yesterday also, as I was saying, and as my colleague was also talking about the mock drill, so that the mock drills are preparing citizens, preparing the security forces to ensure that each and every civilian are secured in case of any hostile attack that might come from the rogue nation, Pakistan.
All right, Devendu, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from New Delhi. All right, we are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. share in the richness of Maharashtra as one family, united by the collective vision of building a better tomorrow.
Welcome back. You're watching the India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. An army jawan was martyred after sustaining injuries in artillery shelling by Pakistan in the Poonch sector of Jammu and Kashmir on Wednesday. The White Knight Corps on Wednesday confirmed the supreme sacrifice of Lance Naik Dinesh Kumar of the 5 Field Regiment in a social media post. They also expressed solidarity with the civilians affected by the cross-border attacks. Pakistan continued to violate ceasefire across the line of control. During the night of 7th and 8th May, Pakistan Army Post resorted to unprovoked fire using small arms and artillery guns across the LOC in areas opposite Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri and Akhnur areas in Jammu and Kashmir. Indian Army responded proportionately. Meanwhile, moments after India's Operation Sindoor, Pakistan started firing, including artillery shelling from posts across the line of control in Poonch district. 12 civilians, including a woman and 3 children, were killed and as many as 41 injured in the firing. Border district Poonch remained the most affected of shelling by Pakistan, where several houses and vehicles have also been damaged. Hundreds of residents along the line of control and the international border are being evacuated to safer zones as authorities chalked out countermeasures to safeguard civilians from Pakistani shelling. The official said the district administration has mobilized all its resources to make necessary arrangements for the convenience of people, especially females, so that they do not face any problem at the temporary shelter homes. Meanwhile, latest video footage of damaged buildings have reiterated India's stand of precision and lethal strike in many terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Destruction was clearly visible at the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Toiba in Murid town of Pakistan's Punjab province. Markaz Taiba in the Nangal Sadan town in Murid was destroyed in the strikes. Latest satellite images also show the destruction in Murid city in Pakistan's Punjab province. While another footage of the Bilal Mosque in Muzaffarabad showed the roof and walls of the concrete building crumbled under the impact of strikes and household items scattered on the floor. The JEM headquarters in the Pakistani city of Bahawalpur in Punjab province was also reduced to rubble. The facility is linked to JEM founder and terror mastermind Masood Azhar. All right, we'll go across to our correspondents for our latest. Ankush Sharma is joining us live from Jammu and Shabir Dar from Srinagar. Ankush, I'll come to you first. How's the situation there at Jammu? What all districts have been put on alert?
The situation is totally under the control, and if I talk about Pakistan is repeatedly trying to disrupt the peace along the LOC, and today Pakistan again violates the ceasefire along the LOC in Uri, Kupwara, Baramulla and Akhnur sector, which resulted Indian Army retaliates it strongly and effectively. And if I talk about the current situation in Jammu, in the border areas, there is no need of panic. Administration is appealing again and again to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Don't give heed to the rumors and please take the reliable sources for the information. If I talk about the border areas, people have moved to the safe places and all the essential services have been ensured by the local authorities. Local authorities established camps and lodgements for them, and all the essential services have been ensured by the administration. On the other hand, if I talk about especially in Jammu district, the district administration have established control rooms for 24/7 helpline numbers for the people of Jammu and Kashmir in case of any emergency as a precautionary measure.
Stay with us, Ankush. I'll come back to you. Shabir, meanwhile, tell us about the latest situation at the border at the LOC.
Yeah, the LOC in Uri and Tangda and Kupwara is there was fresh fighting and mortar shelling in the night, preceding night. So obviously there is tension in the borders, but the authorities are making every effort to evacuate the civilians from the frontline areas, and the buses have been kept in place in Baramulla and Kupwara to ensure that any eventuality is being faced, and people are being advised to exercise caution and restraint and be inside the bunkers, particularly the people living in Tangdar, Uri, and in the villages near LOC. So adequate arrangements are in place. The Indian Army, the police and CRPF are advising people and guiding people how to protect in this situation, because we have seen from past few days, particularly after this Operation Sindoor, there was a heavy mortar shelling and fighting in border areas in Uri, Tangdar. Fortunately there was no casualty reported as of now in these sectors, but there is huge damage in the civilian property, and villagers have been evacuated. So the Lieutenant Governor and the Chief Minister of the Jammu and Kashmir, they had they have directed the district administrations of these areas to ensure that people are not facing any difficulty, be it in the safety, like how they are being evacuated to the several places, keeping the essentials and facilities available for them. So every effort is in place to ensure that there is no difficulty faced by the people who are being evacuated from the forward areas. But there is a difficulty in these areas, but people are supporting the government and and hailing the bravery of the Indian forces, Indian armed forces, in carrying out this this Operation Sindoor, which resulted in a huge dent to the terror infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Kashmir.
I'll come back to you, Shabir. Ankush, since you are there at Jammu, tell us about the security situation also. Has it been intensified and additional forces, police personnel has been deployed at key places?
Yes, the security is very tightened across the Jammu district, and you can see the checkings post on the. You can see the checkings at every post, and Indian Army, Jammu and Kashmir Police is jointly surveillancing the area, and it has been ensured that there should not be any type of panic situation in the Jammu district.
All right, Shabir, also, how is government making sure that the situation of panic, like Ankush is also mentioning, how is government making sure the situation of panic doesn't arise and the locals remain safe?
Yeah, the government has issued a lot of advisories. The government is making a lot of announcements that even if there is any such thing happening, how people are going to cope with the situation. We have seen from last day that all the hospital buildings, the major hospital buildings, the Red Cross, sign is being installed in their roofs. So that ensures that these are the hospital buildings, and people have been asked to switch their lights during night. Particularly the people in Kupwara, Baramulla, and Uri sector in the forward areas. So obviously there is a tension that the adverse, the enemy country may take any misadventure, but obviously both people and administration and the government, they are very prepared to deal with the situation, and people have been asked not to panic, because the armed forces and the government are there to defend them. So obviously not a major panic in people, but they are very cautious. They are exercising restraint and they are being informed. They are being given the messaging by the government how to deal with the situation in case of any eventuality.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest. Ankush and Shabir from Jammu and Srinagar respectively. Soon after the focus strikes on terrorists and terror infrastructure in Pakistan, India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval briefed his counterparts across the world about Operation Sindoor and made it clear that perpetrators of terror have been targeted in this operation without hurting any civilian. World leaders expressed solidarity with India in the fight against terrorism and called for restraint. Here's a report.
Soon after the focus strikes on terrorists and terrorist infrastructure at 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir as part of Operation Sindoor, NSA Ajit Doval spoke with NSAs of several countries including US NSA and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, UK NSA Jonathan Powell, Saudi NSA Musaid Al-Aiban, UAE NSA H. Sheikh Tahnoon, Secretary General of NSC of UAE Ali Al-Shamsi, and NSA of Japan Masataka Okano. Contact was also established with Russian NSA Sergei Shoigu, member of Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and Minister of Foreign Affairs of PRC Wang Yi, and diplomatic advisor to French President Emmanuel Bon. NSA briefed his counterparts on actions taken and methods of execution, which was measured, non-escalatory and restrained. He emphasized that India had no intent to escalate, but was well prepared to retaliate resolutely should Pakistan decide to escalate. Global leaders have urged restraint and expressed solidarity with India in the fight against terror. Israel has extended its support to New Delhi, defending its right to self-defense. Israeli ambassador to India, Roy Ben Azar, wrote on social media platform X, and I quote, "Israel supports India's right to self-defense. Terrorists should know that there is no place to escape from their heinous crimes against innocents." End quote. Reacting to Operation Sindoor, US President Donald Trump said, and I quote, "People knew based on some of the past experiences that something was going to happen. Hope that the fighting between the two countries will end soon." End quote. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' spokesperson said that the UN chief is very concerned and has called on both nuclear-armed Asian neighbors to exercise maximum military restraint. The UAE's Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan urged both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint, de-escalate tensions, and avoid further escalation. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has also called on India and Pakistan to exercise restraint. The Russian Foreign Ministry said that it condemns all forms of terrorism and it was deeply concerned by the growing military confrontation between India and Pakistan. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman also called on both sides to exercise restraint. Qatar's Foreign Ministry said that it is deeply concerned about the ongoing tensions between India and Pakistan and called for resolving the crisis through diplomatic means. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in a statement said UK was clear in its condemnation of the horrific terrorist attack in Pahalgam last month. UK's Foreign Secretary David Lammy in a statement said, and I quote, "UK was clear in its condemnation of the horrific terrorist attack in Pahalgam last month. We need all sides to work urgently to see regional stability restored and ensure protection of civilians." End quote. Former British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak strongly supported India in its fight against terrorism. He said, and I quote, "No nation should have to accept terrorist attacks being launched against it from land controlled by another country. India is justified in striking terrorist infrastructure. There can be no impunity for terrorists." End quote. Bureau Report, DD India.
And France has expressed its full solidarity with India, condemning the terrorist attack in Pahalgam on 22nd April. France's Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs on Wednesday said it supports India in its fight against terrorist groups. The statement said that France is closely monitoring the situation and deeply concerned about the latest developments between India and Pakistan. It calls for de-escalation and the protection of civilians. And UK Member of Parliament Preeti Patel condemned the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack and called on the British government to strengthen counter-terror cooperation with India. Speaking in the UK House of Commons, Patel reiterated her condolences to the victims and urged the UK to recognize the cross-border terror threat posed by groups operating from Pakistan. Patel also highlighted the importance of UK's security cooperation with India, pointing to the history of terrorism that India has faced and Pakistan's past harbouring of terrorists.
This is clearly a precarious moment, and we want to see tensions ease between India and Pakistan. We want to avoid a state-on-state military escalation. We're also clear that India has the right to take reasonable and proportionate steps to defend itself and to dismantle the vile terrorist infrastructure that has caused death and continues to threaten them. And we know that terrorists based in Pakistan threaten India and Western interests. It was the country that Osama bin Laden was hiding in. And because of the long history of violence inflicted by terrorists on India, the UK has in place long-standing security cooperation agreements with India. And in fact, last week in this House, I reminded the government of those long-standing security agreements, why they exist and why they should matter to us here in the UK. Given these links, the UK government should be at the forefront of working with our friends and allies to tackle the terrorist threats that we face collectively.
All right, my colleague Amritpal Singh is joining me on the phone line. Amritpal, how understanding has been the international community of India's position as India gave a measured response to the Pahalgam attack?
Honestly, Abhishek, it's been a mixed bag with the international community, some outrightly backing India, like the sound bites that you played, and even Israel, clearly backing India. But the general refrain, especially from the West, has been that they've condemned the Pahalgam terror attack. But they've asked both sides, India and Pakistan, to de-escalate the situation. The concern of the world really is that it should not get into spiral into some sort of a regional war or a full-blown conflict. Now, that is the general refrain of the West, though in private, when the Indian officials reached out to basically the Indian NSA reached out to various NSAs, including that of the United States, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, UAE. They understand India's position, that why India had to take the line, and also the diplomatic outreach that India has been doing here in New Delhi, reaching out to the diplomatic community here in Delhi. They've been essentially saying that we have been mindful of the UNSC mandate, which very clearly says that terrorism should be hit, terrorism cannot be supported, and India's hit terror targets in Pakistan very, very carefully, avoiding either any hit at any military installations, economic installations, or even civilian population, and has taken care of that there should be no collateral damage in the Indian strikes. So the world appreciates the Indian position and understands, but as I said, the concern that they have repeatedly put out is that it should further not escalate into a full-blown conflict.
Right. Amritpal, also talk to us about the diplomatic moves that India has been making post-Operation Sindoor.
Okay, after the strikes of Operation Sindoor, Abhishek, India knew that there would be a diplomatic pushback, or India knew that it had to explain to the world why it did what it did and exactly what it did. So India's, in its diplomatic outreach, India was very clear that we have hit terror targets inside Pakistan. And Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and carefully avoided any loss to any civilian population or collateral damage or their military installations or economic installations. And these were terror targets. These were, say, the Bhavalpur Madrasa, the Markaz Subhanallah, and Markaz Taiba in Muridke. These are run by proscribed terrorists. These were training camps, launch pads, indoctrination centers, which the world cannot support. So India made its, in its outreach, made its position very clear that as one, like the Foreign Secretary said in his briefing, one, as a punishment for the Pahalgam attacks, second, to deter any further attacks, because there is credible intelligence that India has that terrorists were planning further attacks in India, and therefore to deter any future such attacks, the strikes were undertaken and carefully undertaken, and it was a measured, non-escalatory and a precise attack. Abhishek.
All right, Amritpal, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for inputs. All right, we'll go across to Rajasthan also. DD India's Lakshay Arya is joining us live from there. Lakshay, tell us, a high alert has been declared in all border areas of Rajasthan. Tell us the current situation there. Airports there in Bikaner and Jodhpur, are they still closed?
Absolutely. After the Operation Sindoor, high alert has been declared across the border districts of Rajasthan. 1037 kilometers border district has been air sealed, and regular combat patrolling is managed across the border districts. If I talk about the Sriganganagar, Badmer, Jaisalmer and Jodhpur, high alert has been declared over these states. The local administration along with the BSF and the police is taking regular measures to take over the security and the safety of the civilians. Yesterday night, the blackout was issued, and from night 12 to morning 4, blackout was declared. If we talk about the later actions of the government, the CM Bhajanlal Sharma instructed the Health Department as well as the Police Department to please work along with the Home Ministry. Also, the fake news and the misinformation circulated over the social media will be taken on a serious note, and appropriate action will be taken against them. If I talk about the two major airports, that is, if I talk about Jodhpur and the Kishangarh, the regular operation has been cancelled and the further flights has been cancelled. There is a knowledge about some flights from the Jaipur as well has been cancelled with this morning. If I talk about these districts of the border districts, whether it's Jaisalmer, whether it's Badmer or Sriganganagar, the school colleges, whether it's private or the government, there has been a holiday declared in these school and universities. In further days, till the further notice, the holiday has been declared. The government employees of these districts has been asked to report to the district headquarters, and the leaves of the government employees has been cancelled till the further notice. Regular patrolling, combat patrolling is managed across the districts and these border districts. If I talk about especially Jaisalmer, regular patrolling with the Western Command and BSF is taking over the regular patrolling over the border. The nearby villages near the border has not been asked yet to evacuate, but the BSF and the local administration is quite ready for the further action because right now the high alert has been declared across the state and especially the border district, whether talk about the Badmer, Jaisalmer, Jodhpur and Sriganganagar.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Rajasthan. All right, time now for another short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Russian President Vladimir Putin has proposed a 3-day ceasefire starting Thursday to coincide with Moscow's Victory Day parade on Friday. Ukraine never agreed to the proposal and dismissed it as theatrics and called instead for a 30-day ceasefire. For the past 3 days, Moscow and Kyiv staged aerial attacks, prompting airport closures in Russia. The attacks triggered hours of chaos late Tuesday and Wednesday with temporary airport closures in Moscow and its surrounding regions. The Kremlin has said Russian forces will honor Putin's order for the duration of the holiday but will respond immediately if Ukraine launches any fire. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewed his call for a 30-day ceasefire in his evening address on Wednesday.
It is absolutely fair that the Russian sky, the sky of the aggressor, is also uneasy today in a mirror-like way. Ukraine's proposal to cease strikes and establish at least a 30-day ceasefire remains in force. We are not withdrawing this proposal, which could give diplomacy a chance. But from Russia, the world sees no response. No response except for new strikes. This clearly and obviously demonstrates to everyone who the source of the conflict is.
Now, the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said that Trump administration wanted Russia and Ukraine to agree on some guidelines for talking to each other directly, which would be necessary to end the conflict.
Obviously, the United States is happy to participate in those conversations, but it's very important for the Russians and the Ukrainians to start talking to one another. We think that is the next big step that we would like to take. And why does that matter? The reason it matters is because, again, I mentioned the Russians, but also the Ukrainians have also been sort of, they've put a piece of paper in our hands that says this is what we would need in order to bring this conflict to a successful resolution from our perspective.
Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin met his Cuban counterpart Miguel Diaz-Canel on Wednesday, seeking to boost cooperation between both the countries. After the meeting, the leaders advanced cooperation efforts between both countries. During the meeting, Russia's conflict in Ukraine has led to a breakdown in its relations with most Western states and prompted Moscow to strengthen ties with other countries, including the United States. During his visit to Moscow, Diaz-Canel was also due to attend commemorative events around 80th anniversary of the victory of the Soviet Union and its allies over Nazi Germany. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Moscow to begin a 4-day state visit to Russia and attend the celebrations of 80th anniversary of World War II victory at the invitation of Russian President Putin. The Russian side held a welcome ceremony at the airport, which saw a military band play the national anthems of both China and Russia before Xi reviewed the Guard of Honor and watched a march past. Presidents of the Republic of Congo, the New Development Bank, Brazil and Equatorial Guinea also arrived in Moscow ahead of the victory celebrations. Festive banners and billboards thrilled onlookers in Moscow as Russian capital prepares for celebration. The commemoration will feature a parade attended by more than 24 foreign leaders. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said authorities had jammed internet connections ahead of the parade, citing the threat from Kiev. Now, North Korea fired at least one unidentified ballistic missile about a week after Pyongyang tested a new destroyer. Pyongyang fired unidentified ballistic missile into the East Sea, which is also known as the Sea of Japan. The launch came about a week after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered Navy vessels to be speedily armed with nuclear weapons as the country conducted its first test firing of a new warship weapon system. Last month, Pyongyang unveiled a 5,000-ton destroyer-class vessel named Shohyeon that some analysts said could be equipped with short-range tactical nuclear missiles. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron on Wednesday told visiting Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara to protect all people in the multi-confessional country. Macron also called for a continuation of the gradual lifting of European economic sanctions if the new Islamist authorities stabilize the country. Macron said he had told Shara at their talks in Paris that the president must do everything to assure the protection of all Syrians without exception after unacceptable killings in clashes that affected the Alawite and Druze minorities in recent months. The French president said Shara must ensure that the perpetrators of the violence are prosecuted and tried. Now, tens of thousands of people took part in a rally on Wednesday in Istanbul to support the city's jailed mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu. The demonstration was one of the biggest in recent weeks and came as the opposition Republican People's Party or CHP sought to relaunch its effort for İmamoğlu, who was detained in March. Özgür Özel, CHP leader, addressed the crowd as part of a series of rallies held across the country. He said the party had not been allowed to light up the square, prompting supporters to use the flashlights on their phones, waving them along to songs. İmamoğlu was jailed on March 23rd pending a hearing on corruption charges that he denies. The arrest could stop İmamoğlu taking part in presidential election scheduled for 2028. Now, third black smoke emerged from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel in a sign that cardinals had failed to elect a new head of the Catholic Church in their first conclave vote. Tens of thousands of people gathered in St. Peter's Square to await the smoke, which came around 3 hours and 15 minutes after the 133 cardinals were closed in. The prelates will now withdraw to the Santa Marta guest house, where they are staying for the election before starting to vote again on Thursday. Cardinals were called back to Rome following the death of Pope Francis on April 21st after 12 years as head of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. All right, business updates now. The U.S. Federal Reserve held interest rates steady on Wednesday, but said the risk of high inflation and unemployment had risen. Speaking at a press conference following the Federal Open Market Committee FOMC meeting, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. Powell also noted that trade policy remains a source of uncertainty that affirms the Fed's needs to be a wait-and-see mode.
Come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
The Fed's policy rate has been unchanged since December as officials struggle to estimate the impact of President Donald Trump's import tariffs, which have raised the prospect of high inflation and slower economic growth this year.
The tariff increases announced so far have been significantly larger than anticipated. All of these policies are still evolving, however, and their effects on the economy remain highly uncertain. As economic conditions evolve, we'll continue to determine the appropriate stance of monetary policy based on the incoming data, the outlook, and the balance of risks.
The U.S. stocks advanced on Wednesday in choppy trading after the U.S. interest rates unchanged. Late in the session, stocks rallied as chipmakers jumped after Bloomberg reported President Donald Trump's administration plans to re-sign artificial intelligence chip curbs put in place during the Biden administration. After a brief move lower following the statement, stocks reversed course. Trading remained volatile throughout the session. The S&P 500 gained 0.43%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.27%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.70%. The US dollar held steady against the euro on Thursday, following its biggest rise in 2 weeks a day earlier. The dollar was also supported by the prospect of a de-escalation in trade tensions between Washington and Beijing, with investors closely watching for developments ahead of a planned meeting in Switzerland on Saturday. Google parent Alphabet shares fell over 8% after Apple's Eddie Q testified that Google's search traffic on Apple devices declined last month for the first time in over 2 decades. At a pivotal Washington antitrust trial, Apple's Eddie Q revealed Google's search traffic on Apple devices declined for the first time in 22 years, citing rising AI competition from ChatGPT and Perplexity. The statement triggered a Wall Street shakeup, erasing over $170 billion from Google's market value in 1 day. The testimony came during a pivotal trial where District Judge Amit Mehta will determine remedies for Google's previously ruled illegal search monopoly. The case, ongoing since 2020, has exposed Google's practice of paying Apple tens of billions of dollars annually to remain the default search engine on Safari browsers and Apple smartphones. With a 3-week trial set to conclude on Friday, government attorneys urge Judge Mehta to make Google divest Chrome, arguing its AI capabilities and vast data could further entrench its market dominance and suppress competition. Sports updates now. We'll start with Indian Premier League. Punjab Kings will take on Delhi Capitals at the Himachal Pradesh Cricket Association Stadium in Dharamshala on Thursday. The match will be important for both the sides, with the race for the playoffs heating up. PVKS have one win more than DC, and a victory will nearly seal the qualification for them. On the other hand, Delhi Capitals will be looking forward to get back to winning ways. They started the tournament with 4 wins in 4 games, but they lost momentum afterwards, losing 4 in their next 7 matches. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.